The Saudi Grand Prix is underway as they all make their way through the first corner.
Some Formula One debuts are forgettable. Others end careers before they even begin. But in 1994, one rookie's very first race nearly became one of the most horrifying moments in F1 history.
Michael Schumacher now, and Senna! My goodness! I just saw him plunge off to the right.
Jos Verstappen wasn't underprepared. He wasn't reckless. He was simply in the wrong place at the worst possible time, and inches away from a tragedy Formula One still struggles to explain. Jos Verstappen is remembered today as Max Verstappen's father. But in 1994, he was just a name nobody really knew. 2 years of single-seater experience, no junior hype, no long runway into Formula One. And suddenly he was dropped into one of the fastest cars on the grid. After impressing during a test session, Verstappen was signed by Benetton as a test driver. That was supposed to be it, until fate intervened. Just days before the season opener, Benetton's planned driver, JJ Leto, suffered a serious injury during pre-season testing. With no time to prepare, the team turned to their test driver. Jos Verstappen was making his Formula One debut at the very last minute.
We zien een herhaling van een inhaalmanoeuvre van Verstappen.
And this wasn't a struggling backmarker team either. Benetton were title contenders, the car was fast, and his teammate just happened to be Michael Schumacher. But he qualified 9th. Not spectacular, but respectable given the circumstances.
Schumacher's tally is now 7 victories from 10 starts in '94. Hill takes his 4th second place of the year.
On race day at Interlagos, Verstappen even appeared to be settling in. He was running inside the top 10. By lap 34, he was starting to find a rhythm. Then, in a split second, everything went catastrophically wrong. As Verstappen closed in on Eddie Irvine's Jordan, Irvine moved across while trying to pass a lapped car, unaware the Benetton had drawn alongside him. The result was instant chaos. Verstappen's car launched into the air and slammed directly into the McLaren of Martin Brundle. If you slow the footage down, you can see just how close it came to disaster.
Bij het inhalen van Eddie Irvine. Ja, dat is definitief einde wedstrijd.
The Benetton's wheel struck Brundle's car at head height, inches higher, inches lower, and Formula One would be telling a very different story. But somehow, everyone walked away. What makes this debut so unsettling is that Jos Verstappen wasn't at fault. The blame fell squarely on Irvine, who was later handed a 3-race ban for the incident. Jos Verstappen's debut was a brutal reminder that no amount of preparation can protect a rookie when chaos takes over. And compared to what came next, this was only the beginning. From the moment his name appeared on the 2017 entry list, Lance Stroll wasn't just a rookie, he was a pay driver, and not a subtle one. His path to Formula One didn't follow the usual ladder. While most drivers grind through Formula 2, Stroll skipped it entirely.
Killing tires, so yeah, that's never good around here.
With unlimited funding behind him, he jumped straight from Formula 3 into Formula 1. Williams didn't sign him because they believed he was the next superstar. They signed him because his father reportedly brought tens of millions of dollars with him, and that meant the scrutiny on his debut was brutal. Every lap, every mistake, every radio message.
Can you stay out on this condition? Can you stay out?
Yes!
Before Stroll had even lined up in Melbourne, he'd already crashed during pre-season testing. Not once, twice. By the time free practice rolled around in Australia, the paddock was already waiting for the next one, and they didn't have to wait long. In FP3, Stroll lost control and buried the Williams into the barriers. Stroll struggled to string a lap together and eventually qualified 19th, almost 5 seconds off pole. Nearly 3 seconds behind his teammate Felipe Massa, who lined up 7th.
At the end, it is a nice track, very short.
So when race day arrived, expectations were rock bottom. If Stroll managed to finish without embarrassing himself, that would have been considered a win. Instead, the lights went out, and chaos nearly followed. Stroll misjudged his braking at the start and came within meters of wiping out half the field. He flat-spotted his front right tyre and immediately turned his race into damage limitation.
It was just tell me turned into me, like if I was not there.
2 pit stops followed. Any progress disappeared. His best lap was more than a second slower than Massa's, and just when it couldn't get more uncomfortable, the Williams suffered a brake failure on lap 44. retirement.
Is finally allowed to get out of his Williams car. His race is done.
In fairness, that part wasn't his fault. But by then, the damage was already done. A debut funded by millions, watched by everyone, and remembered for all the wrong reasons. And yet, as rough as that weekend looked, at least Stroll finished his debut season. The next driver didn't even make it past turn 3. Nikita Mazepin's Formula 1 debut was over almost as soon as it began. But by the time the lights went out, his reputation was already in ruins. Like Lance Stroll, Mazepin arrived in Formula 1 with billionaire backing. But unlike Stroll, the controversy didn't stop at money. In the months leading up to his 2021 debut with Haas, Mazepin became one of the most talked about drivers in the sport, and not for his driving. Just days after his announcement, he posted a video online that sparked immediate outrage across the F1 community.
Hey everybody. As you know, I have lost my contract to compete in the Formula 1 World Championship this year.
The backlash was fierce. Fans demanded he be removed before he ever turned a wheel. But he wasn't going anywhere. The Haas car that year carried the logo of his father's company across it. And that told you everything you needed to know.
The foundation will be called We Compete as One.
When free practice began, any hope of quiet redemption disappeared almost instantly. Mazepin spun, then spun again. By qualifying, the picture was clear. Last place. To be fair, the 2021 Haas was one of the slowest cars Formula 1 had seen in years. But even against that backdrop, Mazepin stood out, and not in a good way.
This is Nikita Mazepin, who was going past Sergio Perez when he had this particular...
Compared to his rookie teammate Mick Schumacher, he was almost a second slower. In Formula 1 terms, that gap is enormous. Still, there was one simple goal for race day: finish. That lasted 3 corners. At turn 3, Mazepin lost control and spun into the barriers. Debut over. Seconds into his Formula 1 career, it was done.
Just put 2 wheels offline slightly. It's so slippery and dirty that you're just a passenger in the end and just go straight into the barrier.
But as bad as that looked, at least it was over quickly. Because the next debut didn't just raise questions about performance, it raised questions about safety. Yuji Ide's Formula 1 debut didn't just go badly, it scared people. The year was 2006 and Super Aguri were preparing for their first season on the grid. Backed by Honda and led by former driver Aguri Suzuki, the team wanted to showcase Japanese talent. One seat went to Takuma Sato, experienced, aggressive, proven. The other went to Yuji Ide. On paper, Ide had years of racing experience. In reality, nothing about his career suggested he was ready for Formula 1.
Praticamente não existe a possibilidade de ultrapassagem.
His junior results were mediocre at best, and his preparation for F1 amounted to just 27 miles of pre-season testing. From the moment he hit the track in Bahrain, something felt wrong. Ide missed braking points under no pressure, ran wide repeatedly, constantly corrected the steering just to keep the car straight. He wasn't just off the pace, he was unpredictable. In qualifying, Ide lined up 3 seconds behind his teammate.
Bumpy at the braking and entry zone, the car bounces around, an exit where the car is sort of going towards a downhill.
He started 21st, ahead of only one driver who hadn't set a time. By race day, the concern wasn't performance, it was safety. By lap 11, Ide was already being lapped. Blue flags seemed to confuse him, pit stops turned into ordeals. Every lap felt like an accident waiting to happen. Somehow his race ended quietly on lap 34 when the engine failed. And if you ask the rest of the grid, that was probably a relief.
Ele é perigo ambulante na Fórmula 1.
But the story didn't end there. Just 3 races later at Imola, Ide caused a horrific crash, the final confirmation that he never should have been on an F1 grid. Shortly after, the FIA revoked his super license. Yuji Ide's Formula 1 career was over almost as quickly as it began, and yet, as shocking as that was, the next debut somehow managed to be even more unbelievable. Alex Yoong arrived in Formula 1 in 2001 with Minardi, becoming the first Malaysian driver to ever reach the sport.
So yeah, I just hope to progressively improve every time I go out, and then we'll see how it goes.
It was a historic moment. Yoong's junior career had been unremarkable. There were no dominant seasons, no overwhelming results, just enough backing and timing to open a door. From his very first sessions, it was clear something was wrong. Yoong was multiple seconds off the pace, consistently. Not just compared to the front of the field, but compared to his own teammate. In qualifying, the gaps were brutal: 3 seconds, 4 seconds, sometimes more. At tracks where precision mattered most, Yoong looked completely overwhelmed. He struggled with braking points. He struggled with racecraft. And most concerning of all, he struggled to stay out of the way. Faster drivers began openly complaining. Blue flags became a problem. Incidents followed.
Damit wäre also von der Zeit her sicher drin, aber ein bisschen mehr als der letzte Platz im Heimspiel.
At one point, Yoong was beaten in qualifying by his teammate's Friday practice substitute. Midway through the season, Minardi removed him from the race seat. They replaced him because the grid had lost patience. Alex Yoong's Formula One debut didn't end with a crash or a single dramatic moment. It ended with something worse: the realization that he simply didn't belong there.
To the barrier, and that was a fairly substantial little thump, and again got a second bite of it, and that.
And yet even that wasn't the strangest debut Formula One has ever allowed. Because the final driver on this list technically wasn't even supposed to be racing at all. This final debut shouldn't be possible. And yet it happened. Hans Heyer wasn't a rising star. He wasn't even a single-seater driver. His background was in touring cars in Germany, and by 1977, his chances of ever racing in Formula One were basically non-existent. But that year, a brand new German team called ATS needed a second driver. They were underfunded, inexperienced, and desperate. Heyer fit the bill. Qualifying told the real story immediately. Heyer wasn't just slow, he was too slow to qualify. His lap time was over 4 seconds off the pace. Weekend over. Or so everyone thought.
In Hockenheim, dass es zu wenig Benzin geben wird. Dazu aber später noch ein paar Worte.
Because on race day, Heyer didn't leave. He stayed in the pits. Technically listed as a reserve. Technically waiting for a miracle. And when a massive crash caused chaos on the starting grid just seconds into the race, that miracle arrived. In the confusion, Heyer did something no one noticed at first. He drove out of the pits. No clearance, no qualification, no permission. Hans Heyer was now racing in a Formula One Grand Prix he had not qualified for. For 9 laps, he lived the impossible dream, racing at his home Grand Prix in Formula One. Then reality caught up. On lap 9, his gearbox failed. As marshals recovered the car, officials finally realized what had happened. Heyer hadn't just failed to qualify, he hadn't just failed to finish. He was disqualified, all in the same weekend, all in the same race, on his Formula One debut. To this day, Hans Heyer remains the only driver in history to record a DNQ, DNF, and DSQ in a single Grand Prix. And somehow that might make him a legend, because Formula One debuts are supposed to introduce the future of the sport. But sometimes they accidentally create history for all the wrong reasons. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe, comment, and check out other racing stories that are more than speed.